Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Thanks for being
with us. You.
I also want to take a minute to introduce my colleague Lisa Mascaro, AP's Chief Congressional Correspondent. We've got a great group of AP journalists who are here who are going to be joining us in questioning the senator. There is no shortage of news to talk about, but obviously you're coming off a really big victory, the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, your second Supreme Court nomination of this Congress. Is this your legacy, getting these two nominees on the Supreme Court?
Well, you don't get to write your own legacy, but I will say that what we're doing in the area of the courts, I think, is the most important thing we're doing. I always reminded people, as much as we like the tax bill, when we did comprehensive tax reform in '86, it lasted 4 years. The president and his team have sent up, in my view, an outstanding group of men and women for the circuit courts. At the moment, we've confirmed 26 circuit court judges, plus the 2 Supreme Court justices. Relatively young men and women who believe the job of a judge is to interpret the laws that's written, which is a very important, I think, long-term accomplishment for the country. So I think it's the biggest thing we've been involved in, not that I don't like the other things we've done.
You mentioned the other nominations to courts that you've been able to confirm. You mentioned the tax bill. There are things that have happened over the last year that have been really central to the Republican agenda, and yet you have senators, including longtime senators who are in your caucus, who say that the Senate is simply broken, that it's just not that much fun anymore. Who bears responsibility for that?
We're not there to have fun. By any objective standard, this has been an extraordinarily accomplished Congress, from tax reform to regulatory reform, modification of Dodd-Frank. And then we've had a significant number of bipartisan moments. I don't mean to put you guys down, but when we do things together, it doesn't seem to be particularly newsworthy. The same week we were in this titanic struggle over the Supreme Court, we passed an opioid bill overwhelmingly. We passed a 5-year FAA extension, which hadn't been done in years.
All covered by the Associated Press.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're not covering it. It's just not as, this is not a put down, but it's just not as newsworthy when we do things together that are important. Of course, the most significant accomplishment in terms of just the functioning of the government, we actually funded 75% of the discretionary spending of the government before the end of the fiscal year. That hadn't happened since the 1990s.
But you must hear from your colleagues, because they do say it publicly to us, that they do feel like the institution is broken.
Well, it's not broken by any objective standard. I mean, it's okay to have big fights once in a while. We have big differences. We had big differences over Obamacare and over taxes. But what is also going on at the same time is a lot of important accomplishments for the country. And so, you know, looking at all the things we've done in the last 2 years, I can say without any fear of contradiction, this has been the most successful 2 years of any time. I'm in my 34th year in the Senate. And if you're like me and would prefer to see the country right of center instead of left of center, there has not been a better Congress since I've been here.